Small pieces. Oh my god. Oh my god. Mm, I think no setup is looking fine, but let's see. Mm. Hello everyone, welcome to the live stream. You and me. This is chapter 16. You and me. Be aware. We were taking financial cues from people playing a different game than you are. Um, the implosion of the dot-com bubble in the early 2000s reduced household wealth by $6.2 trillion. The end of the household housing bubble cut away more than 8 trillion. It is hard to overstate how socially devastating financial bubbles can be. They ruin lives. Why do these things happen? And why do they keep happening? What can not we learn our lessons? Why cannot we learn our lessons? The common answer here is that people are greedy, and greed is an incredible feature of human nature. That may be true, and it is a good enough answer for most. But remember from chapter 1, no one is crazy. People make financial decisions they regret, and they often do so with a scarce information and without logic. But the decision made sense to them when they were made. Blaming bubbles on greed and stopping there misses important lessons about how and why people rationalize but in hindsight look like greedy decisions. Part of why bubbles are hard to learn from is that they are not like cancer, where a biopsy gives us a clear warning and diagnosis. They are closer to the rise and fall of a political party where the outcome is known in hindsight but the cause and blame are never agreed upon. Panda X09R. Hello, welcome to the live stream. Hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. Currently, I'm reading The Psychology of Money. I think I had completed 15 chapters, and right now I am on 16th chapter. Competition for investment returns is fierce, and someone has to own every asset at every point in time. That means the mere idea of bubbles will always be controversial because no one wants to think they own an overvalued asset. Hi everyone, how are you doing in your life? I hope everything is going great for you. For me, it's Friday, early morning, like 10:30 a.m. I don't think we will ever be able to fully explain why bubbles occur. It is like asking why wars occur. There are almost always several reasons, many of them conflicting, all of them controversial. It's too complicated a subject for simple answers. But let me propose one reason they happen that both goes overlooked and applies to you personally. Investors often innocently take cues from other investors who are playing a different game than they are. An idea exists in finance that seems innocent but has done incalculable damage. That it's the innovation that assets have one rational price in a world where investors have different goals and time horizons. Ask yourself, how much should you pay for Google stock today? The answer depends on who you are. Do you have a 30-year time horizon? Then the smart price to pay. Sober analysis of Google's discounted cash flow over the next 30 years. Are you looking to cash out within 10 years? Then the price to pay can be figured out by an analysis of the tech industry potential over the next decade and with Google management can execute on its vision. Are you looking to sell within a year? Then pay attention to Google's current product sales cycles and whether it will have a bear market. Are you a day trader? Then the smart price to pay is who cares? Because you are just trying to squeeze a few bucks out of whatever happens between now and lunchtime, which can be accomplished at any price. When investors have different goals and time horizons and they in every asset class, prices that look ridiculous to one person can make sense to another because the factor these investors pay attention to are different. Master Countryside. Oh, hello, welcome to the live stream. I hope you are doing great. I'm an email marketer and currently reading Psychology of Money, and this is such an amazing book. Currently, I'm on 16th chapter. By the way, welcome to the live stream. You can ask me any question related email marketing and all the stuff you have related copywriting and email marketing. But right now I'm reading book. After that, I will write some social media posts to increase my thinking capability. So yeah, I want to welcome to all of you to the live stream. That's all for now. But let me read some lines. Take the dot-com bubble in the 1990s. People can look at Yahoo stock in 1999 and say that was crazy. It's zillion times revenue. The valuation made no sense, but many investors who owned Yahoo stock in 1999 had time horizons so short that sense for them to pay a ridiculous price. A day trader could accomplish what they need whether Yahoo was at $5 a share or $500 a share as long as it moved in the right direction that day. And it did for years. An iron rule of finance is that money chases returns to the greatest extent that it can. If an asset has momentum, it's been moving consistently up for a period of time. It's not crazy for a group of short-term traders to assume it will keep moving up not indefinitely just for the short period of time. They need it to momentum attracts short-term traders in a reasonable way. Then it's off to the races. Let me know if I am clearly audible to you or not. Bubbles form when the momentum of short-term returns attracts enough money that the makeup of investors shift from mostly long-term to mostly short-term. That process feeds on itself as traders push. They attract even more traders before long, and it often doesn't take long. The dominant market price setters with the most authority are those with shorter time horizons. Bubbles are not so much about valuation rising. That is just a symptom of something else, time horizons shrinking as more short-term traders enter the playing field. It's common to say the dot-com bubble was a time of irrational optimism about the future, but one of the most common headlines of that era was announcing a record trading volume, which is what happens when investors are buying and selling in a single day. Investors, particularly the ones setting prices, were not thinking about the next 20 years. The average mutual fund had 120% annual turnover in 99, meaning they were at most thinking about the next 8 months. So were the individuals investor who were those mutual funds. Maggie Mahar wrote in her book Bull. By the mid 90s, the press had replaced annual scorecards with reports that appeared every 3 months. The change spurred investors to chase performance, rushing to buy the funds at the top of the chart when they were most expensive. Let me have something. Continuously reading for like this some cult shit. Oh, ugly Casanova. Oh, what do you mean by cult shit? It is hard to justify paying $7,000, $700K for a two-bedroom Florida track home to raise your family in for the next 10 years. But it makes perfect sense if you plan on flipping the home in a few months into a market with rising prices to make a quick profit, which is exactly what many people were doing during the bubble. Data from Atom, a company that tracks real estate transactions, shows the numbers of houses in America that are more than once in a 12-month period. They were flipped rose to fivefold during the bubble from 20,000 in the first quarter of 2000 to over 1 lakh in the first quarter of 2004. Flipping plunged after the bubble to less than 40,000 per quarter, where it roughly remains since. Do you think these flippers cared about long-term prices to trend ratios, or whether the prices they paid were backed up by long-term income growth? Of course not. Those numbers were not relevant to their game. The only thing that mattered to flippers was that the price of the home would be more next month than it was this month. And for many years it was. You can say a lot about these investors. You can call them speculators. You can call them irresponsible. You can shake your head at their willingness to take huge risks. That is a lot to read still. The But I don't think you can call all of them irrational. The formation of bubbles isn't so much about people irrationally participating in long-term investing. They are about people rationally moving towards short-term trading to capture momentum that had been feeding on itself. What do you expect people to do when momentum creates a big short-term return potential? Sit and watch patiently? Never. That's not how the world works. Profit will always be chased, and short-term traders operate in an area where the rules governing long-term investing, particularly around valuation, are ignored because they are irrelevant to the game being played. That is where things get interesting and where the problems begin. Bubbles do their damage when long-term investors playing one game start taking their cues from those short-term traders playing another. Cisco stock rose 300% in 99 to $60 per share. At that price, the company was valued at $600 billion, which is insane. We actually thought it was worth that much. The day traders were just having their fun. Economist Burton Malkiel once pointed out that Cisco's implied growth rate at that value meant it would become larger than the entire US economy within 20 years. But if you were a long-term investor in 1999, $60 was the only price available to buy, and many people were buying it at that price. So you may have looked around and said to yourself, wow, maybe these others investors know something I don't. Maybe you. Oh, sorry. It's hard to grasp that other investors have different goals than we do because an anchor of psychology is not realizing that rational people can see the world through a different lens than your own rising price. You persuade all investors in which the West marketers and with they are a drug that can turn value conscious investor into new-eyed optimists just from their own reality by the actions of someone playing a different game than they are being swayed by people playing a different game through of how you think you are supposed to spend your money. So much consumer spending, particularly is socially driven, subtly influenced by people you admire and done because you certainly want people to admire you. What while we can see how much money other people spend on cars, homes, clothes, and vacation, we don't get to see their goals, worries, and aspiration. A young liar aiming to be a partner at a prestigious law firm to maintain an appearance, and a writer who can spit when have no need forward when at my own expression. I am wondering down because I am spending money without career boost. He is getting playing a different game. Hello everyone, welcome to the live stream. It took me years to figure this out. A takeaway here is that if few things matter more with money than understanding your own time horizon and not being persuaded by the actions and behaviors of people playing different games than you are. The main thing I can recommend is going out of your way to identify what game you are playing. It is surprising how few of us do. We call everyone investing money investors like they are basketball players, all playing the same game with the same rules. When you realize how wrong that notion is, you see how vital it is to simply identify what game you are playing. How I invest my own money is detailed in chapter 20, but years ago I wrote but out I am a passive investor optimistic. I will to generate real economic growth, and I am confident that over the next 30 years that growth will accrue to my investment. This might seem quaint, but once you write that mission statement down, you realize everything that is unrelated to it, but the market did this year, or whether we will have a recession next year. Game I'm not playing, so I don't pay attention to it, and am in no danger of being persuaded by it. Next, let's talk about pessimism. Hello, hello, welcome to the live stream. The seduction of pessimism. Optimism sounds like a sales pitch, pessimism sounds like someone trying to help you. For reasons I have never understood, people like to hear that the world is going to hell. Historian DRD Mikloski. Optimism is the best bet for most people because the world tends to get better for most people most of the time. But pessimism holds a special place in our hearts. Pessimism isn't just more common than optimism, it also sounds smarter, it is intellectually cultivating, and it's paid more attention than optimism, which is often viewed as being oblivious to risk. Before we go further, we should define what optimism is. Real optimists don't believe that everything will be great. That's complacency. Optimism is a belief that the odds of a good outcome are in your favor over time. Even when there will be setbacks along the way, the same simple idea that most people wake up in the morning trying to make things a little better and more productive than wake up looking to cause trouble is the foundation of optimism. It is not complicated, it's not guaranteed either. It is just the most reasonable bet for most people. Most of the time, the late statistician Hans Rosling put it differently. I am not an optimist, I am a very serious possibilist. Now we can discuss optimism, more compelling sibling pessimism. Hello, thank you for liking the live stream. I hope you are doing great. Say we will have a big recession and newspapers will call you. Say we are headed for average growth and no one particularly cares. Say we are hearing the next Great Depression and you will get on TV. But mention that good times are ahead, our markets have room to run, or that a company has huge potential, and a common reaction from commentators and spectators alike is that you are either a salesman or comically aloof of risks. The investing newsletter industry has known this for years and is now populated by prophets of doom despite operating in an environment where the stock market has gone up 7,000 fold in the last century, including dividends. This is true beyond finance. Matt Ridley wrote in his book, The Rational Optimist, a constant drumbeat of pessimism usually drowns out any triumphalist song. If you say the world has been getting better, you may get away with being called naive and insensitive. If you say the world is going to go on getting better, you are considered embarrassingly mad. If on the other hand, you say catastrophe is imminent, you may expect a MacArthur Genius Award or even the Nobel Peace Prize. In my own adult lifetime, the fashionable reasons for pessimism changed. But the pessimism was constant. Oh my god, small breaks are very necessary. Oh, sweet or salty snacks. When you realize how much progress humans can make during a lifetime, and everything from economic growth to medical breakthrough to stock market gains to social equality, you would think optimism would gain more attention than pessimism. And yet, the intellectual allure of pessimism has been known for ages. John Stuart Mill wrote in the 1840s, I have observed that not the man who hopes when others despair, but the man who despairs when others hope is admired by a large class of persons as it says. The question is why and how does it impact how we think about money? Uh, 30 day. Hello, welcome to the live stream. I hope you are doing great. Currently, I am reading Psychology of Money and I have only few pages left. Amazing book. Thank you for liking the live stream. But yeah, you can ask me any questions. I think another is that pessimists often extrapolate present trends without accounting for how market adapts. You can also chat with me and say hi to interact with me. That necessity is the mother of all invention. It was far less scary. Assuming that something ugly will stay ugly is an easy forecast to make, and it is persuasive because it doesn't require imagining the world changing, but problems correct and people adapt. Threats incentivize solutions in equal magnitude. That is a common plot of economic history that is too easily forgotten by pessimists who forecast in straight lines. A third is that progress happens too slowly to notice, but setbacks happen too quickly to ignore. And there are lots of overnight tragedies. There are rarely overnight miracles. On January 5th, 1889, the Detroit Free Press pushed back against the long-held dream that men could one day fly like a bird. Airplanes, the paper wrote, appear impossible. The smallest possible weight of a flying machine with the necessary fuel and engine could not be less than 300-400 pounds. But there is a low limit of weight, certainly not much beyond 50 pounds, beyond which it is possible for an animal to fly. Nature has reached this limit and with her utmost effort has failed to pass. Oh my god. 6 months later, Orville Wright dropped out of high school to help his brother Wilbur. Their parents are set to build a printing press. It was the brother's first giant invention. It would not be their last. If you had to make a list of most important inventions of the 20th century, the airplane would be at least top 5, if not number 1. The airplane changed everything. It started world wars. It ended world wars. It connected the world, bridging gaps between cities and rural communities, ocean and countries. But the story of the Wright brothers' quest to build the first plane has a fascinating twist. After they conquered flight, no one seemed to notice, nobody seemed to care. In his 1952 book on American history, Frederick Lewis Allen wrote, several years went by before the public grasped what the Wrights were doing. People were so convinced that flying was impossible that most of those who saw them flying about Dayton in 1905 decided what they had seen must be some trick without significance, somewhat as people today would regard a demonstration of satellite was not until May 1900, nearly 4.5 years after the Wright's first flight, that experienced reporters were sent to observe what they were doing. Experienced readers gave full credence to these reports, excited dispatches, and the world woke up to the fact that human flight had been successfully accomplished. Even after people caught on to the plane's wonder, they underestimated it for years. First, it was seen mainly as a military weapon, then a rich person's toy, then perhaps used to transport a few people. Hmm. Hmm. 2004, the New York Times interviewed Stephen Hawking. The neuron disease left him paralyzed and unable to talk at age 21 through his computer. Hawking only jokes to lay people, are you always this cheerful? The Times asked my acceptation but reduced to zero when I was 21. I was thinking, and he replied, expecting things to be great means a best case scenario that feels flat fascism and then your English is impossible. Terms you feel good about, maybe that's why it is so seductive. So, do you got stories? Why have a great day ahead, and thank you so much for being here.